All right, week 8. We've survived the first little bout of winter up here in Canada, and in Ottawa, you've had a little bit of treadmill time, a little bit more so than me down here. But how are you feeling coming out of week 8 there?
Week eight was great. I think I had an athlete hyping me up, an athlete that I coach, but and I was just saying to him, I guess some of the numbers and some of the paces for the pace groups we'll be going out at, I was like, that seems ambitious. This was a while back, but I think after the couple races that we did, a couple of those big long threshold sessions, and then especially I think more so the last 4 weeks of long runs and long run workouts, I feel like it's just kind of reaffirmed that pace is within my comfort zone and is well within reach, and I'll be comfortable going out pretty quick with a lot of guys. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about that for a second, but the marathon project where you're going to go has done this amazing setup, with different pace groups. They've got, I know Rory's coming in, I think, to pace the Olympic standard or world standard. Yeah, world standard, 208 low, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know who the pacers are for 210 and 212. Do you know who they are yet?
I do not, but the race director or organizer, the man of the hour, Ben Rosario, has said that there will be a number of pace groups, and I think 212 is one of them for sure.
Yeah, and I think this is a high level race. They've done this numerous times, right? So I'm not overly concerned about that. And so we're thinking about the 212 pace rabbit, right? There's a 210 and a 212, but we like the idea of the 212 so you can actually get in there, settle in, get a good group, and if you can push forward in the back half, then going after a little bit faster. But how are you feeling about that now? We could talk about the last Sunday workout that's leading that, but yeah, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, good. I think honestly, if the race was next weekend, I'd be like, yeah, ready. So I'm actually pretty excited. Not too nervous or anything, and it's kind of just icing on the cake for any solid workouts we get from now until then, in my opinion. So probably there's more benefit that can be done, but I'm actually more so thinking about not overdoing things. I know you had said hey, this next block, intensity, discipline, is kind of the key term that should be on your mind, and so I think that's something that especially week 9 Sunday long run workout, and also the following guys final long run workout, those two I'll probably try to be bang on or not overdoing things. So yeah,
and I think that's the way we got to do it here. The fitness is already built, we're kind of sharpening the spear now, and now we're starting to dial in a couple of the little things. So I wanted to ask you, because we had a conversation about this earlier this week with the bottle setup at Marathon Project. So you're going to get bottles, but they're spaced a little bit differently than you're used to. So why don't you fill us in on how often you're going to get your bottles, how we're splitting up the fueling across that, the kind of total fueling goals, and when you're going to use caffeine, because I know we were discussing that back and forth.
Yeah. So I mean, let's see. I've across because we did a ton of big long runs and long run workouts in the summer, and I think what I've seen too is a lot of guys sometimes front load the first hour in terms of their carb intake, and I think through training and just I'm doing random out and back, sometimes 15 minutes out on the canal and back on a nice flat section, or I'm doing 10 minutes out, 10 minutes back, grab a bottle while jogging, and then go out again. And through a bit of that, and also sometimes when we have some easy stuff mixed in those long run workouts, I've actually been at certain points doing more, like 35 grams, 40 grams within a 20-minute span or something like that. So I've been able to sort of flex that typical time frame of taking it every 20 minutes. And I found that there was zero effect on my stomach, and I've done that so many times now. So I'm not really concerned about any amount to take in, but I was looking at the bottles, and I was like, man, okay, in the summer, I'd kind of been taking in like, 50, 100 milligrams of caffeine like halfway through a long run. And I really liked that, just to like wake up and just be really mentally there for the second half. And nothing crazy. I've seen a lot of guys do like 200, 250 milligrams during the actual marathon itself. And yeah, so I was like, okay, how do I fit this in? I literally looked at every product, and like, unless you go with Morton that has the powder and caffeine mix, which I haven't really tried Morton. I'm using the Scratch super high carb mix, and that's amazing, incredible, phenomenal product. Literally, you mix that stuff in, dissolves, and then you're drinking it. You're like, is this just water? Like, did I just drink like a glass of water? And it's like, no, like you get all the carbs and everything like that. So that stuff is pretty amazing. And then I was looking at like different other mixes. A lot of other mixes, they have a small amount of carbs, so basically you're losing some of the high quality carbs that you have and then trading off for crappier carbs. And then they add random substrates in there, like green coffee bean extract or something like that. And I've tried that in gels before, don't like that. And then like Noon has like a caffeine powder electrolyte mix, but that's like 16 grams of carbs per scoop. So it's like you're already trading off, again, more carbs. And it's just these sort of weird mixes. Or I would have to balance out my 6 bottles, which is every 4.24 miles is each loop.
Once a loop,
So anyway, six bottles through the marathon. Normally it ends up being, I think, about 7 for most marathons. And that ends up being like 5 or 6K. I think so, 5 or 6K.
Yeah, it's about right. Depends on the marathon.
Yeah. And so I guess like we're having one less. So just trying to find the best way of balancing out the carbs between all the bottles, so it's just like, perfectly even throughout. And that's kind of just my general concept there.
Yeah, and from like anybody looking from like a numbers perspective, we're looking for roughly 100-ish grams per hour, depending on how you're feeling. And then from a caffeine perspective, how many milligrams are you looking to take in that kind of one shot? Because you like to take it usually anywhere like 45, 50-ish minutes out kind of from finish time, correct?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was thinking of. I think, it, again, will come down to bottle placement. So I'll probably do, out of the 6 bottles, it'll be bottles, carbs in bottle, just water plus a taped gel, and then carbs in bottle for the rest of them. So I think whatever that third bottle is, that's probably going to be the gel. 100 milligrams caffeine. I think in half marathons, I've done like 40 milligrams. It's just like one of those goo gels, and I just like the espresso taste and the caffeine, and that's been really nice. So yeah, just sort of building on that and knowing like that maybe that'll trick my brain in terms of fatigue, and that's what I've done for a lot of workouts recently too. So yeah. Yeah,
I mean, the caffeine does help lower RPE a little bit, and then there's the excitatory piece to it as well. So I think you're absolutely right to do that. And I think it's interesting, like, everybody made a big deal out of, like, Klecker going into New York. I don't know if you saw this, but he was talking about taking 175 grams an hour, which is, like, that's an insane amount. Like, that's what cyclists and pro triathletes are taking on the bike. But it is kind of this, like, new frontier now where people are, like, trying to expand their carbohydrate intake. But I know even with where we're at here with Marathon Project, you've steadily increased a little bit over your last 2 after Philly and Toronto. And so the take-home message for people is like, you have to train this over a long time. Like, some people have iron guts, like you could just eat anything and go for it, right? But to really get the benefits, you got to train it like you have, right? We've had the long runs all year where you're fueling on it. The second piece is, you mentioned like some of the better products, Scratch, Precision, Tailwind. Those 3 kind of come to mind. Morton obviously as well too. They have a glucose to fructose ratio that has a better absorption rate too, right? So that's why a lot of people, like when they're trying to do it with a GU or Power Bar or something like that, they get way more GI distress as opposed to the Scratch, Tailwind, Morton, etc. So you're on the right play there. I think we've got fueling dialed in. That's, knock on wood, never been a problem. You've crushed it in your last 2. It'll be interesting to see how the bottle placement is, but luckily for you, 4 miles goes by pretty quick, so you'll be getting bottles pretty frequently. And so we were talking earlier this week about recording this one, and one of your athletes was like, we should talk about shoes. And I was like, maybe we should. And I know you're kind of testing out what it is you want to do. You're an unsponsored athlete, so you're a free agent. You can try whatever shoe you want, so to speak. What shoes are you testing out right now? What do your daily trainers look like? I had one of my athletes reach out and be like, how many shoes does he have for that kind of mileage? And I was like, it's kind of unlimited. It has to be. So what do you have in your daily rotation? What are your thoughts around it? And what is your kind of selection down to for race shoes now?
Yeah. Well, shout out to the run-in in Kerrisdale and over on the West Coast, my dad's former store that he had. So I think for the longest time in my life, I got unlimited shoes or a hefty discount sort of thrown in there. So that's been a blessing, and they've even over the summer, like, they've supported me, and I think like the recent pair of like Alpha Flies that I've raced the last couple races in, like, that was from them. So they've definitely helped me out in a huge way. I guess I want to kind of go all in on this. So I'm trying to test a few different things in new shoe. I'll show in a second. See how it goes. But the other sort of concept that I'm sort of thinking about right now is just like just the blend of like, oh, we have all these like plated super trainers. Does this mean that I'm just like less beat up? I can get more out of myself. I can just coast along on my easy runs a lot more. But I've also been recently talking with a few other athletes and sort of trying to buy into like training in non-plated shoes. So really making the calf Achilles complex work. Having a lot of those intrinsic foot muscles develop, and then allowing your tendons to have more ground reaction forces that they can handle, and building that capacity and tendon stiffness. So when you transition over to the Magic Super Shoe, your running economy gets a huge bump, and you get all the benefits. So I think like a lot of people obsess over, oh, I'm training in the Super Blast 2, and then I'm running in like the Alpha Fly, and it's like that's gonna make the difference. It's like, no, like one of the best things that I've always found is like, just if you train in some sort of beat up and shittier shoe, or some shoe that does not have the benefit and doesn't have the same energy return, and then when you transition over into the nice thing on the day, that's the magic. And so it's not the shoe, it's just that you put your body through hell, or it's had to adapt to worse conditions, and then it gets the best on race day.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line. I'm not saying you're wrong, because I agree, but I think the two biggest things I'm seeing with super shoe users are, like, the protocol I'm using for most people, or engaging with most people, is they do like their marathon pace runs in them, because you want to get used to actually loading and not using the Achilles and the calf complex as much. But your daily trainer shouldn't be super shoes, because as you said, you're just weakening that complex completely. The other thing I think about why I'm having, especially like age groupers, do their long runs in their super shoes is that just a massive amount of recoverability that comes with it, that people are saying, like, you're just not beating your legs up. Now, you, as somebody who's calloused the body and calloused the mind over tens of thousands of kilometers and miles at this point, you're used to that pounding, right? But a lot of the age groupers aren't. And so that's just a point for anybody listening that you can utilize to increase that durability, because at the end of the day, the basic deterministic factor for most of us to be successful at the marathon is consistency over the block. And so if you can use that tool to not be as beat up, or come out of it on the other side feeling a little bit better when you go back to your daily trainers, it's a big boost. So yeah, which ones have you narrowed down to now?
Yeah, so I was using the New Balance Super Comp V3, so that had a plate before. They're kind of tanks. They're pretty heavy. Recently, I've been running in the Adizero
Nice
Evo SL. So yeah, these have been pretty nice. They don't have a plate, and honestly, like the first run in them, it's probably like they've designed it like this, but it almost feels like the first time you're back in super shoes. The foam that they're using, I think, is comparable to what they use in their actual race day trainer. So yeah, pretty amazing energy return, and yeah, I've been really enjoying that. But it's something that I also find I enjoy, because it's so versatile. I can do easy runs. I've done a 2.5 hour long run in them, and then I can also do strides at that like 5K, 3K pace. So yeah, it's been nice.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's funny. I had somebody when I first started doing this ask me if I was going to do shoe reviews, and I was like, I'm not a shoe nerd. I don't know the foams. I don't know all this stuff. So I leave that to you. You're the guy who knows that stuff for sure. But I think you're right in what you're doing with them, and I think the other piece that people miss, and I get it, there's the cost can be prohibitive for running shoes these days, but cycling through different trainer types even for your easy runs, just challenges the foot in minor different ways. So there's actually like a little bit of an injury prevention piece from doing that as well too. So cool. You got those ones. What else are you rocking?
Yeah, over in my bag I got just some beat up Alpha Fly. So I'll usually race in like some sort of shoe, and then I'll after like a few races I'll transition that to a training shoe. Recently picked up these through a secret source, and so I'll be racing in these on race day, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I really was thinking it was a lot of marketing hype with the Puma Fast R3 for quite some time, but I think I can't ignore the data, and if I'm going all in on this one marathon for the year, let's just do it. So I think the benefits are there, and if we get a bump in cost of oxygen consumption for the same effort, then that's all good.
I also think like a piece of it at every level, but your level in particular, just having the confidence to know that you have and are doing everything.
Yeah, definitely. I think for the longest time I was like, I'm trying out some sort of super shoe for the first time, and I think I was using like the Mizuno Rebellion Pro, and that was a carbon plated shoe, and so just the simple fact of knowing I was using that, and the rep had sold me on the benefits of them, and I was trying out a prototype, and I was like, I'm just so excited about that. It's like that had the same benefit in my mind, but I think now really seeing that not all super shoes are created equal. I think it definitely does. It definitely does make a difference. I've seen really good things from like New Balance and their recent model, and I've heard good things about the latest Asics carbon shoe. But I think Puma, Nike, and Adidas probably stand out the most, especially Nike and Puma. So yeah.
Good. Okay, so we're going to give those a try. I know you're probably going to do your test workout this weekend, not the data that we're going to look at now, but next weekend and that, so we can report back on that next week. So any other special little things you're kind of doing here to dial in, be it mentally, physically, recovery, that like you think are being helpful as we get into the last, like we're under a month now. So what are you doing that's kind of special as you dial in here?
Quickly, I think we touched on this a while back, and I have kind of my 7 like laws of running, and like one of them is sleep, and one of them was like discipline of routine. I definitely fell off on discipline of routine a few weeks ago, and I think getting back discipline to like get out the door at a certain time, like stop like looking at news or scrolling on Instagram, that allowed me to have more time for the workout, more time for the morning run. Just be present, and I think that's like equally as beneficial as like obsessing over super shoes or workouts. It's like being present and getting the most out of the workout each day, and that doesn't mean going harder, but just like being mentally present to soak in the work. And then the other thing I got this before our cat had like a emergency vet accident, but so that was actually really dumb, but it was like 1 week before. I got this steam sauna. It's called the sauna box, and that I've been trying to keep up 2 sessions a week. They're not very long. It's like 15 to 18 minutes of just spending time in there. But I think the heat acclimation before some of these longer treadmill sessions has also acclimated me to those treadmill sessions. So therefore, I can get more out of the treadmill sessions, and I'm not just worried about like my body is overheating, I'm going to die. I'm actually surviving those workouts, and I can execute better, which I think we saw in some of the training this week as well.
Well, and also there's some good, I mean, we knew this from like summer training. We've talked about this for the last couple of years, especially when you move to the East Coast, where it's like you're going to suck in the summer, but then when the fall comes around, like all the hematology markers go up and you're ready to crush it, right? And so like the sauna just helps kind of keep those adaptations from the summer going. So you're all in. We're ready to roll. Let's talk about that Tuesday session, because I know you really liked that one. I'm going to pull it up here just to kind of intro us into it. But when you are looking at approaching these last couple of workouts, we've talked about this where it's really, we want B pluses. We don't need to be, nailing it out of the park and stuff. We're looking at the 2x20. I'll pull up the splits here in a sec. This is one we've done a bunch of times, and you've really leaned into it. It's a hard session, like 20 minutes at tempo. if done right, is hard. If it's done wrong, it's way harder, and that's no good. But let's pull up your kind of splits here and take a look. So you were treadmill for this one.
Yeah.
So how'd it go?
Yeah, it was really good. I feel like I think the last tempo session like this we did was 4x10. I really like that we're doing a lot of honest work. So 2x20 is a pretty honest tempo session in my mind. I didn't want to kill myself in that first rep. So I think I was like going out. What was it? It was like 303 in the first. 303, 302 minute Ks in the first like few minutes, and then quickly down to 300 for like the last 15 minutes of the first rep. Try to get in some jogging time in between, and the second rep was like 301s down to like 258, 257 minute Ks. And yeah, 1.0 incline. I even throw in like a 0.5 extra, or sometimes like a 1.0 extra incline just occasionally for like 30 seconds, just to keep the body awake.
Different stimulus, change it up. Yeah, feel a little bit different.
It was felt amazing. The endorphins were high, and I was loving it. So it was good.
And I know like one of the things you're proud of, and I talk about this all the time, where we want to triangulate efforts, right? So we're not like lactate testing you all the time or anything here, and so this was like your Strava heart rate graph, right? And so for us, when we're talking about how did you nail a workout, it's a kind of combination or triangulation between like pace, effort / RPE, and heart rate. So any of my athletes listening will know is like the number one question I ask via email back to them is like, how did it feel? And I'm sure they're sick of it now, but it tells the story, right? And so walk us through this kind of heart rate graph here and what you were most excited and what you took away from this after executing.
Yeah, I'd say I like to push the pace most workouts, and so the RPE was actually probably not super high for me, but I was like, oh, maybe that I think I should be running with a little bit extra in my pocket for some of these tempo sessions. And so I think because I've gone to the same gym at the same times, I eat like the same things every day, I work from home, I can isolate a lot of these variables. And so, in a scenario like this, I think heart rate does align a little bit better. Most people, again, and most athletes I coach too, and like we've always talked about, effort is like number one, but like, sometimes you see like that nice sort of linear line of your heart rate gradually increasing over time. Yep. And like you can kind of make some assumptions about where your lactate is at, and like if you're running the proper effort and speed for the given day.
Yeah, and sometimes, just so people know, like with this kind of ramp up here, sometimes what you'll see when you're running a decent amount of volume is it actually takes you a little bit to get your heart rate up, just simply because you're tired. Like from a peripheral system, you're just a little tired even with the treadmill pace, and that's a fairly normal oxygen kinematic. So just for people watching, like you don't need to be right at the heart rate right away. It's not like you're losing the purpose or anything. But when I look at this, what I thought was like really cool is, even if we were to, zoom in a bit, like there's not a lot of undulation as you go kind of across, right? I don't know what, but little spikes here and there. This is probably where you hit a little incline, actually. I would have to imagine where you were playing a little bit just to get through, but like the delta here is really great to see. And so when I look at that, I think, man, this was a really well executed tempo. Now obviously we're not doing lactate, we don't know if you're 3.9 millimoles, just under 4 or something, but the execution on this from three perspectives, right? The pace perspective, that's easy with the treadmill. The effort perspective in terms of your self-report, and then the tempo stuff, fantastic, right? So this is super cool to see, and I know you were excited about it, and I'm excited about it too. So I think that's just another sign right now. And right now, as we get closer to the marathon, we're just looking for signs and signal that you're ready to do what it is we think you can do. And I think those have been stacking over the last couple of weeks, and I think as we transition into talking about this long run that you just did, and we'll break that down a little bit, I think that was another really strong signal that you're firing on all cylinders. Yeah, for sure. And I think Project 13.1, my half marathon PB, I think I saw similar things with the tempo, like where
Like the heart rate was more consistent, more controlled when I was really nailing those sessions and coming into it. So it's good to kind of see those signals from both build, from a previous successful race build.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I go back here, so let's talk about this Sunday session, because it was a big one and not one that we always do. I'll preface this with some of my thoughts in terms of why we did it. So generally, this being roughly 4 weeks out, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on how the build's gone and what you've done, we like to do that 90 to 100 minute kind of tester workout. But for this build, I wanted to squeeze just a little bit more intensity in. I also knew like this was going to be a treadmill session. And you've only done a handful of the longer stuff on the treadmill, so I wanted to give you a little bit more integration towards, M-pace and working through that. So just a, in and out type workout, right? So 2K, 3K, 4K, 4K, 3K, 2K, 1K at marathon pace on 1K e-pace recovery. And so just like a little side note here, when we do like e-pace recovery for Nobbs, like, I've scheduled all his e-pace stuff here, he's running 452s, 8-minute miles or whatever, right? But generally tend to go a little bit closer to actual like Daniel style e-pace on these. So that was the thought behind this workout, another integration just in case you have to do a long one, straight marathon pace on the treadmill, but also a little bit more in and out to get a groove and just put in a decently long day. So if I pull up I know this is treadmill, so it's not exactly accurate, but you can kind of fill us in here.
I think that was pretty solid. There was there was one section where I paused the watch instead of splitting the watch, and then there was one section there's 2 times where I actually finished the rep and entered the float jog or float easy run but didn't hit split, and it's just you're kind of like a mad scientist with like all these controls and levers when you're on the treadmill. It's like I got my like my songs playing on Spotify, and like I'm like switching songs and going like this. I'm trying to like wipe off sweat on my arms so that I'm not like splashing sweat on the person beside me, and in good life. And then I'm I'm adjusting the paces too, and like that's like pretty critical. So sometimes when I'm finishing a rep and decreasing pace to like 4-minute Ks for the easy float, it's like you're focused on that and you're like, oh, I'm good, I'm in the recovery, and then you're like, oh wait, shit, I gotta press split. So So a little bit of that, but no, super stoked. I think I was tried to start a little bit more conservative on the 2, 3, and before hitting the top 4K, and then the 4K, 3K, 2K, 1K coming down from like I think 308s, 307s, and a little bit of time within a few reps at like 306s. Yep. So and even then I notice. When there's more bodies in the gym is hotter, right?
Yeah.
And I really felt it on that Sunday morning because there was tons of snow that morning. More people were there, and so just trying to manage: am I hitting the appropriate effort, and less so like what's my heart rate right now? I'm not thinking about that as much.
Yeah, we can look at this. Like obviously, this is it's the same heart rate pull that was just Strava previously. This is Final Surge, but. There's a little bit more undulation here just simply with the in and out nature of it, but still, like, I mean, right in there. Sorry, we'll go kind of where's your average, right? 168 average, I guess is what it would be across. And so right in the right kind of zone here. And one thing we wanted to touch on too, because we know a lot of runners are jumping into that treadmill grind right now, unfortunately, if you're up in the Northeast or anywhere that gets snow. And so one of the things, we trialed this out with Thomas so he could look at it, but we've got it kind of publicly now, is this like treadmill calculator that I made that's super easy on the phone. So if you're like me and you jump on the treadmill, like I don't speak miles per hour or kilometers per hour, you can change the units on this. So we've got the wrong way. Go. We've got the units, you can switch kilometers both, whatever your fancy is. So if your treadmills in miles per hour, you can click it and that gives you your actual pace. You can look at it pace per mile, or if you want to know what it is you want to do, if you want to do like 600, right, you can do that. That's going to tell you 10, right? So I'll leave the link here for people because I know it's treadmill season. You guys can take a look at that. But that's the one we've been using to kind of assess everything we need to, so you can go and nail those treadmill sessions.
Yeah, 100%. And man, the number of times I've gone into a workout and like almost sometimes even been about to start a rep, and I'm literally looking it up on my phone, and I'm like treadmill conversion pace, like this to this pace, or it's like MPH to min per mile, and like and then it's like Google gives me like the first thing back, and it's like a frickin' chart. And I'm like, I don't need a chart right now. And
on my phone, where you're trying to like do this. Yeah.
And then I click the link, and it opens up the chart, and I scroll down, and it doesn't even go to the pace that I want that's fast enough. So yeah, it's definitely a big help there.
Yeah, and that's why I built it. So like on the phone, you can just like thumb the like slider dial, so it's super easy. You're not having to look up charts and stuff. So you can bookmark that page or whatever, so you've got it. But that's kind of one of the tools we've been using now for this treadmill stuff. So. Okay, that's the end of that week. Everything's feeling good. Any kind of notes ahead that you're thinking about as we get into the final 3 weeks here?
Just, I think, sleep is a big one. Intensity, discipline we talked about. I think I appreciate even little things. Like I think if I was self-coached or designing my own plan, which I don't think I'd ever do. I've never seen that work well for anybody, but I think last week was like less than 200K. And I think if I was like thinking about this as an athlete, I'd be like, I'm running less than 200K. Like, what the heck's going on? Like, the long run's a little bit shorter. And it's like, I think I just appreciate that bird's eye view that you sort of carry into that, where it's like, no, we're getting a lot more intensity at this long run, so therefore that's why this is like this. You might lose a few Ks. It's just how it is, and so just trying to trust the process and get the right amount, not the most. Get the right amount out of each session. So
yeah, no, fair. And that's the hard thing, right? Like a coach's job is to be objective. Athletes are going to be hyper subjective about their running, their mileage, their pay, blah, 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 whatever, right? Like it's your dream that you're chasing. It's what means the most to you. And this goes for everybody I coach. But it's my job to be objective about that and stop you from like running off the rails of being able to chase that dream, right? And so as we've talked about kind of in this series, that trust between us where you could like bring something up and I'll just be like, nah. And we're just like, okay, we both trust each other, move on, we're good to go, right? But I'm sure for you, it's nice to have somebody not only to bounce that off of, but somebody that you trust too, because I find a lot of athletes that are either self-coached or in the group run scene or whatever, they just bounce it off their friend that's like a hype man, right? Like, oh yeah, you can do anything, whatever, like go for it, right? And then all of a sudden it's like you're running way faster in training than you are on race day, or you blow up on race day because you didn't have somebody who's like, let's keep this in check here, because I think you can actually do something special on race day, but like don't like blow it up in training. So yeah, it's a tough battle sometimes, but it's always worth it when it comes together on race day.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a good point.
Cool. All right, well, we'll pick up next week. We got the last big tester workout, and then we're into Taper Town.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks, man. We'll see you soon.
See ya.